I'm just going to check the audio. Audio. Haha. I think that's quite enough. Well, hello and welcome into this Tuesday's movie news. I am Jonathan C. Walsh, here to speak about all of the latest happenings in the world of Hollywood and in general film. A discussion of film, a discussion of Star Wars, it seems. Because two of, I think, 4 topics. There is another topic in there. There is another. You see what I did there? Star Wars, Yoda. There is another in there, but I have not gave it an official status as a topic on this show tonight. It is in the description and I will address it briefly because it's a cool fucking image. But no, I'm going to be speaking about Star Wars a whole lot in here. Well, Hayden Christensen has been out speaking about his experience, his trials and tribulations with Star Wars, and I'm going to discuss Hayden's actual sort of full 360 of emotions with the franchise, with the character of Darth Julius Vader, with Anakin Skywalker, and where he is now with the fandom. But first and foremost, it's been a big day of discussions, of revelations, of announcements, it would seem, via one singular discussion with Kathleen Kennedy, who is of course still very much the president of Lucasfilm, the all-hearing, all-seeing, omnipotent force which runs Star Wars in terms of movies, in terms of, I think, TV as well, but certainly movies. She's been out speaking. She had a discussion with, and we'll bring it up just now, so we don't make a fool of ourselves, Vanity Fair. She's been discussing, and as you can see, we'll go back, I'll just switch this off, road mapping the future of Star Wars. And she's been out speaking, and just giving us a brief update on a couple of bits and bobs with this iconic IP, which sadly has went to the dumps in the last 5, 6, 7 years. And that's not just in terms of creative output on the silver screen, that's in terms of just the aura surrounding Star Wars as a brand, as a toy not manufacturer, but as a toy experience. I can't think of a better descriptive word, adjective. Star Wars, when I was growing up, it had a mysticism about it. There was magic with the toys, there was magic with the figurines, there was magic with the brand. You seen the Star Wars logo and you were whisked off into another galaxy, quite literally to another galaxy far, far away. Now it's 10 a penny, it's in every shop, and it's lost something. And I don't want to blame that solely at the foot or the feet, because she's not got one foot, although one foot may be up. I don't know. Kathleen Kennedy, I don't want to blame it, land this all at her feet. It's not her fault entirely. It's just the ways of the world. Modern day life is shit. Commoditising everything is shit. Capitalism is shit. But we're not going to go there. I'm going off on a tangent. Star Wars is still an iconic IP. It is still very much a great franchise. One which has so much to give. A future. And Kennedy has been out speaking about said future. As you can see here, she had a discussion with Vanity Fair, had an extensive, I should say, look at the state of the franchise, providing a roadmap for its future. She had this to say. I'll read this little snippet before I get into what she had to say. We've got a couple of short quotes, and then I'm going to actually go off. My dog just whining there randomly. I'm going to go off on a tangent and discuss Rian Johnson, everyone's favourite divisive independent filmmaker, a little bald-headed man himself. We'll go off, and I love Rian, but he's almost certainly balding, but he's clinging onto it with dear life, just like Theresa May clung onto power all those years ago before we get the bumbling Boris Johnson. Political tangents again. That's the last time I will go there. I promise you. And yes, I said D. I've lost my train of thought. I'm going to go off on tangents and discuss Rian Johnson, what's happening with his trilogy. There is a separate article which goes further into it. But I'll start it with the quote in here. But I'll read this. Kennedy announced during the 2020 Disney Investor Day presentation that Thor Ragnarok and Jojo Rabbit director Taika Waititi was going to be directing an upcoming Star Wars feature. I remember it well. Huge fan of Taika Waititi. Was very excited at the news he was going to be making a Star Wars movie, but not just him. Kirsty Wilson-Cairns, a Glaswegian, a fellow Scots woman, was involved in the writing process. A woman who'd worked with Sam Mendes on 1917. I think it was called 18. Even now I can never get that title right, and it's a 4-digit title. Should be very easy. The one with George Mackay. Great movie. She wrote it. She came up with the infamous sort of piece of imagery that George Mackay had to live. He placed his hand on the back of a dead German soldier, and it was a consistency of that of Camembert cheese. That was the writing brilliance of Kirsty Wilson-Cairns. She was pairing with Taika, so it was very exciting news for me to hear Taika was sort of broaching the world of Star Wars. And yeah, I remember it very well. But I digress, we'll get back to it. Well, updates have been few and far between since then. It seems like that project will be the first of the new batch of Star Wars films to be released. But we know they're writing it. We know that ball's already very much been kicked down sort of metaphorical street. It's rolling. They're writing the movie, so it shouldn't be that much of a stretch. Rogue Squadron from Patty Jenkins seems to be planned for further down the line. More than likely once the director schedule clears up following a third Wonder Woman instalment. They're doing that then? Wow, didn't expect it. The Vanity Fair piece also mentions the rumoured Star Wars film from MCU architect Kevin Feige, and while Michael Waldron recently confirmed that he's actively writing the project, Kennedy was a little more non-committal. She said this: "I would love to see what movie he might come up with, but right now there isn't anything specifically." Now, I always thought that 1917, as Stephen's corrected me, or he's not corrected me, but he's informed me that it's 1917. I don't know why I have issues with that, man. I'm a huge fanatic of World War, both of those great wars in the early stages of the 20th century. I don't know why I have real issues with remembering that. Clearly, a aspartame riddled brain conjuring up early onset dementia. And that's something I'm going to have to battle. I'm certain of with my fucking genealogy. The amount of people in my family have battled it. Not early onset though. Very old people when they battled it. It's in my future. I would love to, yeah. I always thought that was something that would put her nose out of joint. Is that the right terminology? It would disjoint her nose. I don't fucking know. I always thought it would put her out just a little bit. Someone of the brilliance of Kevin Feige coming in, a producer who created the MCU, who's consistently delivered excellence over a decade's worth of filmmaking, the ever-growing complexity of those movies, juggling great talents, brilliant project managing, bringing great talent behind the camera, in front of the camera, together, just working wonders with that universe. I always thought that to put her nose out of joint just a little bit, just because he's coming in, he's having to work on a movie under her, just the inferiority complex. Yeah, Stephen, I don't know what's going to happen with that episode, I'm not going to lie, man. That's the third time I've edited it, and I just cannot fucking see myself editing it again. I just can't see myself editing that fucking episode again, man. 3 times I've done it in the last day now. I just can't find the strength within myself to get back to Premiere Pro and edit that. I was supposed to be editing episode 4 tonight. I had that episode edited 2 days in advance. It was sitting, uploaded, early today. I was getting into episode 4. I've got the full reaction of episode 4 out, exported, ready to go up on Vimeo. And this motherfucker has been bought 3 times, man. It's down to 30 minutes. I don't know what the fuck I can even possibly do to get that episode out now. Genuinely, I'm at a loss. Not got a fucking clue about how that's going to go out. Baffling. I don't know what Amazon are doing. They've lost the fucking plot. They've genuinely lost. We speak about early onset dementia there. I'm jesting. Amazon have lost their fucking mind. I've put 49-minute long reaction videos out for this series, Family Man, and a 30-minute video is getting blocked. Wow. I ain't get the answers for it. But anyway, getting back to Star Wars. We'll cross that bridge when we have to. Like a bridge over troubled water. I am not Simon or Garfunkel. That is Paul Simon at Garfunkel. I can't sing. I think one of them can't sing either, to be fair. The tall, lanky guy, I think he's average, isn't he? I think it was Paul Simon who was the guy with all the talent. I think Art Garfunkel was slightly jilted when they split up. Held a grudge. And I'm pretty sure Paul Simon was friends with John Lennon, so he always take his side. Art always looked like a guy who had, just something stiff. A stiff man. But anyway, digress. Goes on to speak about Last Jedi, director Rian Johnson. For years there have been rumours and conflicting reports about whether Johnson's trilogy was still going forward as planned. The mixed critical reception of The Last Jedi seemingly steered Lucasfilm away from the director, but Kennedy says the studio would still like to have Johnson return to the world of Star Wars once his schedule opens up. Ryan has been unbelievably busy with Knives Out and the deal that he made at Netflix for multiple movies. Now I'm going to quickly just jump over to this article because there is more on this. This is a guy who, I'm going to level with you, I never for one moment after The Last Jedi released thought would get this trilogy. This trilogy was announced prior to the release of The Last Jedi. Me and Stephen, I remember vividly, I've got photographic memory or close to it. I remember us sitting huddled over a Blue Yeti mic, discussing it, audio podcast days, build up to The Last Jedi. It was a couple of months out, I'm pretty sure. Fucking shaking with anticipation for this movie. The continuation of Luke Skywalker on that hilltop, if you like, the cliffs of Ahch-To, was it? Just super excited about what this guy was bringing. Both huge fans of Brick Looper and his work. A great independent director, speaking all the right things. Obviously there was concerns about Mark Hamill's body language and some of the sort of remarks coming out of his mouth, but we thought this was a great sign. He was getting a trilogy before this movie even came out. No reshoots. We thought, must be something special this guy's delivered here. A sort of nice continuation of the sort of generic, rehashed Star Wars saga that was The Force Awakens. Took all the good bits of the original trilogy, made one coherent movie. It was a decent movie, nothing more. But no, it wasn't to be. The Last Jedi for me, although in hindsight probably still the most creatively original Star Wars movie of the sequel trilogy. Probably the best of the sequel trilogy, but still not a great movie for me. For me it was a disappointment ultimately. It wasn't to be. I know there's people out there who fight for it, who are avid fanatics of Ryan's story. I know Gianni, who knows his shit about movies, he certainly likes it the best of the sequel trilogy. Again, it's like trying to pick out a diamond in the rough and a sea of turd, because they're all crap. But yeah, it wasn't to be. Get this trilogy announced, and then there was just divisiveness in the fan base. People were hating on him. He was attacking people, calling them man babies on social media. There was a whole racial storm came up regarding Kelly Marie Tran, yada yada yada. It was toxic as fuck. It all seemed to be buffed out of these two here, just deciding they were going to do what they wanted. They weren't even going to attempt to appease the fandom on any level. And it's just rumbled on. That's what, 4 years now, something like that, since The Last Jedi came out. With this can getting kicked down the road again and again and again regarding this trilogy. It's happening, it's not happening. I never thought it was going to happen. And it now looks as though it ain't going to happen. Because not only is she saying he's a busy man, which seems like a lazy answer to it's not happening, but they don't want to admit they've made a mistake and it ain't happening. Not only is she saying that, but she's also coming out and saying that might not get a Star Wars trilogy ever again. They may be stepping away from trilogies. But as you can see here, we'll get to it. Though it's not outright cancelled, Johnson's fucking is. Johnson's trilogy is apparently on the back burner for now. Like Gambit with Channing Tatum was on the back burner. Never happened. Ain't going to happen. And all those other movies that have been kicked down the can ain't going to happen. And never happened. This ain't happening. No surprise given how busy he is cooking up Murder. Look, I love the Knives Out franchise. Benoit Blanc's a great character. He's done a great job with Daniel Craig. He's done a great job penning that murder mystery. It's not easy penning murder mysteries. You have to be very cerebral in the way you are telling the story. You have to leave the audience on the back foot, not really knowing where they are, discombobulated. You'll always have a certain percentage of the fan base or the viewer base who will know exactly what's going on, but that's the beauty of it. You have to intrigue those who don't know, and you have to excite those who crack it and find out, just want to sit there and watch how it all plays out. This is where this guy excels for me. His own independent stories, his own independent worlds, no expectation, no generational sort of connection to the characters. This is where he excels. No issues whatsoever, him going off and working with Netflix and doing these movies. Parting company with Star Wars, absolutely fucking fine for me. You will never hear me argue over it. And I can quite believe he has been busy, because he's making the second one just now, or has finished it. But look, I digress. This is the one quote that sticks out to me in regards to this, that is, in a sense, her confirming it ain't going to happen. And I'm doing a little T-Rex thing there. I hesitate to use the word trilogies anymore, because Star Wars is much more about persistent storytelling. Well, I'm glad we've got there in the end, Kathleen, because it certainly wasn't persistent when you were doing the last trilogy. It was discombobulated, disconnected, shambles. Forgetting about plot threads, completely discarding it, going to fan service. Fucking fan service on steroids, on trend. Fucking TRT everything, man. Went right in with the fan service at the sacrifice of the story. I'm glad to see we've got there with persistent storytelling. Lord knows it took you fucking best part of a decade to get there. But she's going to say, I think, anyway, does she go on to say? She doesn't. It's more about storytelling. So like, she's come out there, man, and she says, pretty much saying, we're not speaking about trilogies now. He's a busy man. For me, this is confirmation that Ryan ain't getting his trilogy. They're moving away from the whole concept of trilogies. They're going probably more standalone storytelling, leaving the persistent storytelling for the medium of TV on Disney+. Of course, the studio which owns Lucasfilm, it's within the greater umbrella, has reshifted its whole strategy to focus on streaming on Disney+. We're getting some great TV content over there. I've been fighting for TV content for Star Wars. I think this is where it will excel, where it can really work magic. It can get back to roots, and look, I'm going to get into it in a moment. John Walsh of Spider-Man fame, keeping in the house with Disney. He's walked away from one movie, the Fantastic Four movie, and he's stepping right into a Star Wars TV show with vibes of Amblin 80s magic in there, which is fucking magic goodness to my ears. Just reading it internally, of course, otherwise it wouldn't do anything to my ears. There should be moments along the way when you learn things. She's reflecting on recasting iconic characters now and confirming it ain't going to happen again. Now it does seem so abundantly clear that we can't do that. I'm glad again that they got there. And that's not to dismiss old Ehrenreich and the job he did. It's not to dismiss Donald Glover, who's of course got a TV show, a spin-off with Lando Calrissian. That's not to do them a disservice, because those two guys I thought did, well, I mean, with Donald, he done a spectacular job portraying Lando Calrissian. He nailed all the ticks of Billy D. Williams, but he also gave it his own vibe, and he just brought that flamboyance that we know that he pulls off on red carpets anyway. This is a guy who's no stranger to red velvet suits, frilly shirts, and he rocks it, because this fucking guy can wear anything. Can kick around with a t-shirt and a pair of kicked in Nike Cortez trainers, looks fucking great. Red silk suit, looks great. He brought all of that personality that he possesses, the presence he possesses to that character. I thought he was a real standout in the Soul movie, alongside the likes of Emilia Clarke and the likes of, and I'm blanking on his name, Paul Bettany. I just thought he was one of the great things, and this is an example, and it's slightly contradictory, where you can maybe recast and it works. I'm not criticising Alden Ehrenreich, but his challenge, his task was much greater in taking Han Solo, who, no disrespect to Billy D. Williams, was played by the great, truly great Harrison Ford. Now, Billy D. is a brilliant actor. Harrison Ford is a generational actor. He is got a potential claim of being the best, or one of the best actors in his entire generation. And one of the most synonymous characters for me, not Richard Kimball, although that comes to my mind right away, is Han Solo and obviously Indiana Jones. So if you're going to recast that character, you have to fucking pick someone who is just perfect. And Alden wasn't perfect for me. He sadly wasn't. So I can see why they have learnt their lessons from that movie. Of course, probably the most unsuccessful Star Wars movie of the full slate of releases from Disney post-merger with Lucasfilm. So I'm glad to see they're learning on multiple levels here. They're learning about persistent storytelling. They're learning about Rian Johnson's trilogy being a disaster. They're learning about just getting back to the mine and constantly just mining it dry with spin-off younger versions of classic characters. They're learning that TV is perhaps the medium to go to. And that's almost confirmed with this, as I did say. John Walsh, a man who took a totally different Spider-Man in a pre-established universe where the chances of failure were probably spectacularly high. Although when you've got a team of Kevin Feige and all of the creative fucking genius around you, then that probably is lessened to a degree, chances of failure. But still pretty high, man. This is a different take on Spider-Man to what we'd ever seen before. He was more youthful, more immature, and they flipped the sort of story of this guy. He had Aunt May in his life for a lot longer. That sort of pivotal guidance figure in his life for a lot longer than any other iteration of Peter Parker we'd seen before. The way he flipped it, he flipped the sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, doesn't matter. The way he flipped the sort of story and gave us that powerful emotional punch in the finale of his trilogy, and I presume he's done, and it's someone else that will take over, maybe a future trilogy with Tom Holland. I thought that was genius. The way this guy came in, him and Tom Holland admitted as much that they were fucking lost at the start and made something special out of this. That gives me incredible hope that this guy can do something equally as special with a Star Wars TV show. And the concept of it, man, the setting of it, in that era between Return of the Jedi and the sequel trilogy, which has reaped so many great awards for The Mandalorian, which I'm sure will reap many great awards for the Ahsoka Tano TV show, for a potential Luke Skywalker TV show, and hopefully Boba Fett moving forward in his TV show. This is the era that they have to focus on, and it is an era that they are focusing on here. Connecting the sort of creative tissues of all these characters, maybe building something that is truly great, that can maybe semi-redeem that sequel trilogy, although it'll have to be really fucking great to do that. Getting guys like this in will make it a reality, I'm absolutely certain on it. But as you can see here, Vanity Fair I should say, not Variety Fair. I'm reading it from Variety. Reports the show is being developed under the codename Grammar Rodeo, which is a reference to an episode of The Simpsons in which Bart and his schoolmates steal a car and run away for a week using a phony educational event as an alibi. Fucking love that. And the connotations that sort of conjures up where that could take this actual story. Sort of younger cast, being a little bit impetulant, being a little bit illegal in their activities, rebelling against society, a broken society perhaps, post-Empire. And just, yeah, giving us that, as they say in this other article, which I'm not going to bring up, ambling 80s vibe. I fucking love that. I love that sort of connection to Amblin, Spielberg production company, 80s entertainment vibe. I don't know exactly all the movies that company was connected with, but certainly the Goonies is what I think of. I think of the Gremlins. I just think of these coming of age movies, E.T., and the vibe that they have. They possess that 80s vibe, but special. That reminds me of Star Wars, man. That's what Star Wars was for me. The Muppets. That sort of rough and ready prop design. It was lived in. There was no green screens to be fucking seen in those early movies. And they came with their own sort of visual vibe for me that was special. Willow is another one that had that. Just that realness. You could touch the characters. Labyrinth. Things like that. I think of that when I think of Amblin. It's probably not got anything to do with Amblin, but that's what I think of. And the fact that they're going for that vibe with this TV show fucking excites me. Because we've seen this with Jon Favreau, we've seen it with Dave Filoni. With The Mandalorian, they are utilising the screen magic technology, these enveloping huge screens that make the actors actually live the environments they are acting within. They immerse them and they make the performances all the more exciting, enriching and entertaining for them as well. But they're combining it with that lived in vibe. They're building real sets, there's real props there. they're trying to reproduce a more modernised version of what George and the likes of Gary Kurtz, I think it was, what those guys were doing in the 70s and 80s. I want to see that continue, and I want to see that on fucking steroids. I never want to see a behind the scenes documentary of a Star Wars project, be it TV or movie, ever again, that features wall to wall fucking green and blue screens, soulless, devoid of life sets, because it's just fucking terrible. I can imagine for actors to act against, and we'll get into that. I'm speaking about Hayden Christensen at the end of this show. I'm sure he will back me up on that, surely. But I digress. Vanity Fair's report continues. The show takes place during the post-Return of the Jedi reconstruction that follows the fall of the Empire, the same as The Mandalorian, but its plot remains a secret. It's created and executive produced by director John Walsh, writer Chris Ford, who made Spider-Man Homecoming for Marvel. A casting notice is called for 4 children around 11 to 12 years old. You see, that's dangerous, but it could work. When you're working with really young talent, it can go both ways. It can be fucking terrible, or it can be great. I've seen the likes of Bad Boys in recent years that have been hilarious, younger talent, but equally I've seen some real horror shows with younger talent as well. It can go 2 ways, that. But I'll get into it. Inside Lucasfilm, the show is being described as a galactic version of a classic Amblin coming-of-age adventure film of the 80s. Fucking love it. Love it, man. As you can see here, what series joins Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, The Mandalorian, Andor. Still not heard anything about Andor, by the way. Diego Luna must be getting really impatient now. For the upcoming Star Wars television slate, I mean, it's this is where Star Wars has to go. Moving forward, they have to focus all of their creative endeavours on TV, on Disney Plus. Marvel are doing it, and they're making magic happen with the TV content. Like some Moon Knight, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Miss Marvel coming up. They are making magic happen with TV content. They already have an established cinematic universe where they can just chop and change it. And they have got great movies coming out as well, but that's Kevin Feige, that's Marvel. Star Wars doesn't have that luxury. They have to start somewhere. They have to build from a solid foundation. Do it in TV, man. Stay the fuck away from movies for at least a 5, 6, 7, 8 year period. Taika Waititi aside, because he's Taika Waititi, he can do what he fucking wants. A man who is 6'2" or something and stoats around with, and walks around, sorry, that's a Scottish word, stoat, means walks, with tropical Hawaiian shirts and shorts on, and looks good in it. That guy can do anything he fucking wants. He owns the key to the world. So you let him make his movie whenever he wants to make it. But TV's the future for me for Star Wars, and I'm excited to see this guy joining that fraternity. This is a fucking Hollywood, sort of elite level director who's now making TV content. Again, the lines between movies and TV blurring ever more. The production values, the budget, the cast, the directors, everything, it's all blurring. Love it. Love to see it. Looking forward to it, man. Patty Jenkins spoke about the sort of Rogue Squadron movies. Well, I don't know what the fuck's happening with that. I didn't even know she was making a Wonder Woman 3 movie after that second one. Shouldn't really happen. That was terrible. Not even Pedro Pascal and the wondrous looks of Gal Gadot can save that movie. So, yeah, what time will tell. I'm excited for Star Wars again, and that's something that's to be commended. It's a commendable feat for Kathleen Kennedy, because not a huge fan of her tenure as Lucasfilm president. Not a huge fan of what she'd done to Star Wars. Hopefully she can save it and then slither off into the shadows and hand it over to Filoni or Favreau or someone of that ilk. Anyway, speaking about slithering into shadows, Kang the Conqueror, a man with many faces, a man with many variants, a man who can be malevolent but also a wise, good man and share the same universe perhaps at the same time, being both at once. This man is reportedly going to have more variants post Ant-Man 3, of course, Quantumania, whatever the hell it's called. And this is not news that surprises me, because if you are bringing in the relatively youthful talents of Jonathan Majors, and I have to say that, he's the same age as me, this is a long-term project that you're setting up. This is a Thanos Mark II level character. Can be incredibly powerful, but can have many faces. Can appear in your TV shows, like Loki. Can appear in Ant-Man as a relatively modest villain can be a fucking Titanic destroyer of universes villain for a big ensemble Avengers movie. Hello, Akshat. Welcome in. Shouldn't surprise anyone. This is a long-term project. The biggest surprise for me was him being the villain in Ant-Man Quantumania in the first place. Because, look, as much as a fan of Scott Lang as I am, Paul Rudd, of Evangeline Lilly, and Michael Douglas, and Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Pena, I believe, is it? Or Cena? Michael Pena, I think it is. David Dashmalkian, they're all in there. As good as that cast is, and as good and as interesting as the stories have been, really compelling villains in there. Yellow Jacket, I think it was, your man, bald guy. Ghost, one of the more compelling, multifaceted villains we've seen in these sort of standalone stories of the MCU. Walton Goggins is in there as the annoying, slippery bastard of a businessman. As compelling as those movies were, they have been the least well-performing of the MCU. He's always been a bit of a joke figure, Scott Lang. They kind of play on it in the ensemble movies, the Avengers movies. No one really takes him serious. And this is something that's manifested into the actual real world. No one really takes the character serious. So it was a huge surprise when it was announced that Kang the Conqueror, of all people, was going to be the villain in Ant-Man Quantumania, Ant-Man 3. Because this is a guy who comes with a reputation. This is a time-travelling wonder who's manipulated previous battles to make himself look like the victor. This is a guy with insane power. This is a guy who had sort of control of all the timelines in Loki. This guy as a villain in Ant-Man shouldn't fit until you realise that he is multifaceted. There is fucking potentially infinite versions of this character, and that he can pop up and be something completely different in Ant-Man to what he can be in fucking multiple saga defining movies 10 years in advance. So it doesn't surprise me, man. It's coming in, as you can see. There's a report coming in suggests that Kang the Conqueror variants will be seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after appearing in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Jonathan Majors first brought the iconic villain to life in the MCU with Loki Season 1, in which he appeared in the season finale as the ultimate big bad known as He Who Remains, who created the Time Variance Authority in the hopes of preventing a multiversal war from breaking out by an evil variant of himself. Brave John. He Who Remains would meet his end at the hands of Sylvie. Yeah, we know this, man. Look, it doesn't matter, bitch. What fucking matters is the fact we are getting more of them. And yeah, as you can see here, CBR indicates the new Kang the Conqueror variants are set to appear after Quantumania. Rickman suggested this was the plan after one fan took to Twitter questioning why Jonathan Majors' multiversal villain would serve as the main antagonist for the Paul Rudd prequel. I hope we've got the tweet here. We have not. Needless to say, I don't know why the fuck anyone would even ask that on Twitter, man. They must be crazy to even question the wisdom of a Rickman, of a Feige. These guys know what they're doing, man. They have laid foundations in place for multiple fucking phases, an entire saga. You go back and watch the creative processing for Infinity War Endgame. They had a rigid cut of those movies, years in advance, man. They know what they're doing. They will get to where they want to be, and you need to trust the process with Jonathan Majors, who is a tremendous actor. I loved him in Loki. Cannot wait to see what this guy brings. He's got that air, his presence, he commands eyeballs. You've got Tom Hiddleston in there, man, and you've got whoever it was that played Sylvie in there. Two really good actors who have commanded respect the entire TV show. They're in the same scene as this guy, and this guy just eats the eyeballs up. No one's interested in them. They're looking at him. They're looking at the performance. And it was a bit of a monologue, and he carried it with just fucking ease. Hello, Matthew. Welcome in, man. Still don't understand that name, incidentally. Scottish Midge. Or is it Midgie? Is that how you spell Midgie? I don't know. I've never actually searched Midgie up. I presume there was an extra I in there. Midgies, for the uninformed, are minute little blood-sucking bastard flies that are more readily found up in the Highlands of Scotland, but are an equal problem in sort of the Greenbelt areas of cities in central Scotland. We stay in the Greenbelt area of Glasgow, and there are, in the summer months, loads of midges absolutely destroying you out in your garden after like 9 o'clock at night. The sun starts to dip, like 10ish, they come out and they fucking destroy you. So midges, so it is midges. There you go. You learn something new every day, Matthew. I didn't know that. But they're bastards. Bastards. Well, everything in Scotland. Probably beauty to look at, but they come with a sting. But national flavour's a fucking thistle. Beautiful to look at. Absolutely destroy you if you touch it. But national drink. High in brew potentially. Beautiful to look at. It'll taste nice. Makes you fat as hell. Whiskey. Beautiful to look at. Smells nice and tastes nice. Turns you into a demon. That's Scotland for you. Got to love it. But anyway, I says I'd have a additional topic to discuss, but I couldn't be arsed making an actual bar for it because it's short and sweet. It's a photograph. But I seen this photograph a couple of days ago. Andy Tolsky's decided to post it up 21 hours ago. I seen this, I think, before that again. This photo dropped. And I was just absolutely blown away by Natalie Portman here. And just the muscles rippling out of this woman. Just unbelievable. The guns on her. The trap development, the deltoid development is off the charts. She has been fucking juicing. She's clearly been on the same regimen as Chris Hemsworth. Her deltoid development is terrifying. Terrifying. This woman is in her 40s, I believe. How the fuck has she built shoulders like that, man? So impressed to see it though, I have to say. She's put the work in, clearly really dedicated to this role, to the story that Taika Waititi has produced. So much so that she is bulked up. And she looks every bit a goddess capable of wielding Mjolnir now. And who would have thought that back in the day when Kenneth Branagh gifted us Thor? And it was this sort of minute, diminutive sort of Jane. She is a completely different beast here, man. I am supremely excited for this movie. You see her next to Valkyrie, who's always been a bit of a monster. Tessa Thompson. Always had a bit of a build to her. But so impressed with that physique to the point where I just had to talk about it. Look at the build of her, man. She looks wide. She's got some guff going on, man. In those arms. She's got an armband. She looks like fucking Xena, the warrior. I think that's what you call it anyway. She is impressive as fuck. It's incredible. Well done. I just thought I'd talk about that. Brief. Very impressed. She's always been a very, very good looking woman. It has to be said, Natalie. But she's really packed the muscles on, and I've got to tip my hat. I've been there, I've done the weight training. I've still got a bit of mass on me, despite my thyroid trying to destroy me. I know what it takes to get deltoids like that. It's actually not as hard as it is to build a back, but yeah. Lateral raises are a bitch. They are a bitch. But anyway, I'm moving on. Don't know why I decided to speak about this, man. I looked at the article, I thought, I've got news. There's a new Detective Pikachu sequel being announced. It's a fucking speculation, opinion piece from this guy here. Ronald Rajan. This guy's basically asking, is it happening? Question mark. Is it? You tell me, Ronald. Is it happening? Is this another gambit? Will we be speaking about this movie in 5, 6, 7, 8 years? Will we ever see Detective Pokemon Pikachu 2? If I was to hazard a guess, if you were to twist my arm, threaten me with some violence, maybe a gun pointed to my head, that'd be a bit extreme though for a Detective Pokemon Pikachu question. But if you were to ask me the question with maybe a fatality hanging in the balance, I would probably say yes, there will be a sequel. Because I really enjoyed the first movie. I thought Ryan Reynolds, I'm pretty sure that's who it was, the man with amnesia. No, Ryan was, he became Pikachu. Spoiler alert if you've not seen the movie. He was absolutely fantastic doing the voice work as that character. He brought laughs aplenty as you expect from Ryan. He's a big, boisterous personality. He doesn't even have to be on the screen. And he's got you rolling over. Rolling about the place, doubled over, I should say. A bit of an unconscious comedian at times. And he really brought that to the voice work. And I think all of the great voice works over the last 20, 30 years have had that. Really. I think of Jim Carrey when he's playing the mask. He's also actually there, but it's almost... I don't know what you'd call it. There's a word I'm looking for. Augmented. With CG or some sort of visual effect. I think of Robin Williams, the genie in Aladdin. Huge personalities popping out via the voice work. Why am I blanking on it? Why am I blanking on it? I'm blanking on it. And it's fucking haunting me. Woody. Why am I blanking on his name? That is absolutely fucking terrifying. One of the greatest actors of all time. Wow. Doesn't matter. Move on. It's one of those moments that happens when you're doing live shows. Wow. That is worrying. That's what I'm talking about, early onset dementia. Stephen, help me, man. Who the fuck played Woody? It's fucking crazy. Just talking about him yesterday, Elvis. Jesus fuck. He's a multiple Oscar winning actor. Why have I forgot his name? That is worrying. Anyway, big personalities pop out. That's what I'm saying. Castaway. I'm going to have to search this up. That's terrifying. That was like the Robbie Savage moment a couple of years ago. I was sitting watching him on BT Sports. I'm like, I forgot this guy's name. That is fucking worrying. Tom Hanks. Fucking hell. How do you forget Tom Hanks' name, man? Wow. I'm actually sweating. I am literally sweating. How do you forget Tom Hanks' name? That is impossible, man. That is concerning. That's like a come to Jesus moment. I'm going to blame the lights. But you get big personalities coming out. I can remember fucking Tim Allen. That's who played Buzz Lightyear. I'm pretty sure, not Woody. I forgot Tom Hanks' name. Big personalities coming out, man. And Ryan Reynolds certainly gave us that as Pikachu. That is, for that alone, I think it will happen, because he is, I think, the second best paid actor in Hollywood just now. So it was, and in fact, it was the first movie was very entertaining. It was brilliantly brought to life. The animation was fantastic. The way that Pikachu looked, he felt like a living Colin Hanks. Colin Hanks, is that like his ugly fucking sort of diminutive brother that gets kept in the cupboard? Like Ron Howard. What's his brother called again, Stephen? You'll know that. He always appears in these movies. He appeared in Apollo 13, didn't he? What's his name, man? Is it Clint Howard? How the fuck do you remember that, man? But you forget Tom Hanks' name? What is fucking crazy? What was it, Clint Howard? Tell me, man. I need to know. You need to tell me, Stephen. I'm not going to continue with this show until you let me know. Was it Clint Howard? My phone's over there, but I can't possibly be picking it up. I'll get on with it anyway. Fuck it. I'll get on with it. Pikachu. Yeah, it was a great movie, man. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. And I think it was, I forget what the actual actor's name was. It played Clint Howard. Thank fuck. How do you remember Clint Howard's name, but you forget fucking Tom Hanks, man? The boy that played his son, he was absolutely brilliant. So much so that I was personally fucking like crusading for him to play a Miles Morales in a live action setting. So it had all the components for me, this movie. And it grossed a lot of money, $433 million, 3 years ago now. Time flies when you're having fun, they do say. So I'm just surprised it's not been greenlit already, this movie. It had all the components there. I believe it was Sony. Was it Sony? I don't know. Legendary Pictures. I don't know why they haven't already greenlit the movie. It had big personalities, great acting performance. The first movie was tantalising. It had a heartwarming story about sort of familial bonds being reignited. Could argue that a sequel's not easily to be had, because obviously the way it ends, it's kind of coherent. It's a self-contained story, but I think they can make something work to bring this character back. Obviously, I mean, he was fucking Pikachu. How does he become Pikachu again? He certainly wasn't Pikachu by the end of that movie. Either way, I'm happy, man. I quite like self-contained stories, standalone movies, being standalone, and just being left alone. So it's almost admirable that they are not wanting to just immediately make it a franchise. But if they do, I think it certainly merits it. Well, I'm moving on to this, man. This is the last topic of the show tonight. A very undulating show. I've been up and I've been down. I've had the highs of speaking about Star Wars, and I've had the lows of forgetting Tom Hanks' name momentarily. Well, his second name anyway. It's been a strange show. But I'm going to end in this. I'm going to speak about Star Wars. I started with Star Wars, and I'm ending with Star Wars, but this one is more precisely about Hayden Christensen, who I have always fought for. I grew up with the prequels. These were my era of Star Wars. I did watch the originals in the mid-90s when I was but a pup. I was a young man. I was a boy, I wasn't a man. But I did grow up with these movies, and these are most definitely the movies that were made for me by George, and for that I have to, give him some thanks, but then also give him some hate, because George, they could have been better, let's be honest. But I've always championed Hayden because I felt that he was a great actor. Not a great actor, that's maybe stretching it. He was a good actor. Great, it's a bit too far. He was a good actor who was done dirty by the horrific dialogue, by the horrific direction of George. George made a couple of good movies. American Graffiti. I'm not going to mention the dystopian one. And also Star Wars. The original. He should have stepped away from the director's seat at that point. A great world builder. A man who knows what he's doing when it's overarching stories and creating worlds and stuff like that. Director's seat doesn't belong in it. I'm sorry. He almost stole the director's seat for the 3 prequel movies. And I blame him for Hayden's actual performances. I blame the soulless, empty, blue-screened fucking sets that had nothing for him to grab onto and make the actual performances on. Not look what the actors are getting now with huge enveloping screens. I liked the character as well, man. I did. I liked his version of the character. I didn't like Jake Lloyd's version. Are you an angel? Yippee! That was unnecessary. That's another reason why I think Hayden get done dirty. He should have been in from the very start. They should have started with him being that age, and then it would have gave him 3 movies to evolve the character, descend him into the madness of Darth Julius Vader, or just Darth, as Alec Guinness, Ben Kenobi called him back in A New Hope. It would have gave him a chance to really get his teeth bit into the character. 2 movies wasn't enough, man, to tell us the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker. It just wasn't enough. You could argue that they continue that in the originals, but that wasn't fucking Anakin. It wasn't really. It was Darth finding Anakin again at the end, and it wasn't Hayden that was playing him. But I digress. He's been speaking about the love, the newfound love that the fandom have buffed like a phoenix from the ashes for this actor and his performance. As you can see, he is going to be returning in Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he sat down with William Mullally. Mullally, what a name. For an interview, and it was short and sweet, but I've got another quote, thankfully, from another article to just extend it out a bit, because that's what I do here. Extend things past their sell-by date. And he had this to say: "It's just been really heartwarming. I can't tell you what it means to me, but it's a really neat thing. I guess the moral of the story is patience." And look, this is the thing, man. It swings and roundabouts. You've always got the older generation kicking things that ain't for them and saying, look, this is trash. This isn't what it used to be. This isn't like what things were in my day. Things were better when I was young. Things were better in the 70s, the 80s, the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, the 30s. It just passes on generationally. They kick the young when they're down. They kick the young when they're up. And it so happens that it's my generation, the millennials, just coming out of that phase now. The Zoomers, soon to be the Alpha generation, who are getting tanned. But as they get older, as I get older, sadly, there is a newfound appreciation once again for those movies, that trilogy, because they grew up with them. They were the movies made for them. And opinion is slowly but surely starting to turn on Hayden and his performance. Not saying it's a great performance for the time, but I really did enjoy him, especially in Attack of the Clones. I liked his interactions. He was silly. The CGI was fucking terrible at times. But I still enjoyed the character. I enjoyed him bouncing off of Ewan. Primarily. I liked Obi-Wan and I liked Anakin. I felt we should have had more of that. But again, should have had 3 movies with it. And I think the sequel trilogy as well, man. People have watched that, seen how bad Star Wars can really be, and realised that maybe it wasn't that fucking bad after all. It had Christopher Lee in there after all, didn't it? And some of the worlds he went to were fantastic, man. I always remember Camino. Been obsessed with Camino. And Geonosis was alright as well. And you go to Felucia and the Order 66 moments. These are worlds that just were unique, were different. And they buffed video games that were set there and stuff like that. So that's what I'm talking about with George. He knows how to world build. He knows how to give his alien landscapes like no other. Well, James Cameron aside, probably. Some movies are slow burners, take years to be appreciated. Well, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that they're perfect movies, man. Look at that dog. I mean, it's very big and bloody, isn't it? Why have we got a spaniel on the screen looking at me very intently, trying to perhaps nibble away at me for a bit of a treat or something like that? It's a bit unsettling, isn't it? A little bit unsettling, that, I'm not going to lie. Those eyes look soulless. They look beady. They look like a demonic teddy bear from a horror franchise. I'm sure it's full of love, that dog. So I'm not going to be too harsh on it. But anyway, I digress. I'm not going to sit here saying that the movies were perfect, man. But I do think when the prequels were truly great and they had great moments, they completely eclipsed anything we have got in the sequel trilogy. There's no doubt about that, man. The interactions of Count Dooku and Obi-Wan, almost teaching, mentoring Anakin mid-lightsaber duel. You're cool, you've got a nice sort of style, but it's no match for this. He's teaching him and he's imparting his wisdom. He comes back in Revenge of the Sith and he's incorporated his style in. He's made himself better. He defeats him easily. When the moments are truly great in the prequel, they are great and they're better than anything that's came since. But they're still nowhere near the original trilogy for me, because there was a simplicity to the original trilogy that they've just not been able to recapture for whatever reason. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to read this. This is him speaking about his experience of being cast as Anakin Skywalker. I'm going to end on this, incidentally. I'm done after this. I'll not stay too long. There's no need. I remember when I got the phone call saying that I got the part, I was still in bed, you lazy bastard, actually, in my apartment in Vancouver at the time. I recall walking out after I got off the phone, just sort of stunned and in disbelief by the news, walking into the living room where my roommate was. He was aware that I was waiting for this call, and he saw my smile and immediately understood that there was good news. My response was, I lit up an imaginary lightsaber. Okay, Hayden, it's a bit goofy, but okay. I can't imagine you doing that. How do you even do that? Anyway, it doesn't matter. He was a big Star Wars fan too, and he had the soundtrack to episode 1. He put the Star Wars soundtrack on, and we had this whole imaginary lightsaber duel around our apartment, jumping on all the furniture and just screaming like giddy little children. Fucking love that. And what was to come, obviously, in Revenge of the Sith, probably, I mean, some people say that's one of the greatest lightsaber duels. It was over choreographed, no doubt about it, but it was still pretty epic. The music was epic. Just a shame, I was about to say just a shame, and then I do it, about Obi-Wan kind of developing a lisp in points. I've said shame instead of shame, so I can't now slag Obi-Wan off. On the Sith deals in absolutes. Ewan's the fucking man. I can't slag Ewan off. He's a man. But it's nice to see that he's went full circle with this character. It's almost like it's been exercised. The demons have been exercised. He's able to come back to this franchise now. He's able to come back to this character and maybe give us one last compelling performance before he walks off into the sunset. And Lord knows, I think the character deserves it. I think Hayden deserves it as well, because he is a great guy. He took the stick, he continued on doing his craft, and I do think he's a good actor, and I wish him all the fucking best in life, man. The guy has aged remarkably well. I've seen him and Ewan McGregor at Disney World or Land, wherever it is, with the rest of the cast of Obi-Wan, and Ewan was sporting some rather dodgy turn-ups in his jeans. Always immaculate, Ewan, though. He pulls it off. He doesn't have any right to pull it off. The white socks, the sort of shoes. The shoes are always fantastic on Ewan. I need to find out where Ewan buys his shoes. They always look dynamite. But the jeans, man, the turn-ups, pushing it, Ewan. I tell you, pushing it. But seeing him standing next to Hayden, man, you can see that they've both aged very fucking well. They've both got great heads of hair. And again, they're both coming back to play these characters, and it's almost like exorcism for them. Maybe some of the criticisms they got, they feel that they owe themselves the opportunity to come back and prove, look, that wasn't fucking us, that was George that done us dirty. But anyway, look, man, time will tell. I'm looking forward to Obi-Wan. It's only a week away. It's actually 10 days away, but hey ho, who's going to get pedantic over 3 days? Not me, anyway. But I'm sure there's someone out there that will. I'm done on that note. If the little topic bar disappearing off into the void wasn't enough of an indicator, I am indeed done. I'm just impressed that I've managed to keep the... Well, I mean, I always keep the Movie News logo up there, to be fair. It's this screen. I'll bring it up. It's this screen. Look at that. Fucking monstrosity. That's what we do here. We take one camera and we zoom it up. I'm just going to bring that back again. See if I can make myself disappear completely. I've got no eyes now. Look at that. Wow. Anyway, I'm done, and I think it's for the best that I'm done. What's your thoughts on the topics I've touched upon on the show tonight? What do you make about Star Wars being road mapped out by Kathleen Kennedy? Is that something that excites you? It's something that makes you feel absolute despair? Are you one of the people who hates Kathleen Kennedy, thinks she should never have had the opportunity to road map anything ever again, that she should have went back to I don't know, whatever the fuck she was doing before Star Wars, producing movies with her husband. You can comment below if you've got anything to say about that. John Walsh doing a TV show. The news about Taika Waititi making the first post-Rise of Skywalker Star Wars movie. And finally, in regards to that topic at least, the news that Rian Johnson potentially never ever going to be making a trilogy or indeed another Star Wars movie again. Does that excite you? Does it make you happy? You can comment down below if you've got anything to say about that at all. That is the place to put it. What's your thoughts as well on Kang the Conqueror getting a sort of continuation, I wanted to say, but then I thought that ain't the right word. Continued starring role in the MCU. That's what I'll go with in terms of multiple variants moving forward post Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. You can comment below if you get anything to say about that. About Detective Pokemon fucking Pikachu, whatever the hell it's called, getting a sequel. About Natalie Portman being absolutely, I can't even speak now, I've lost the plot, being absolutely jacked out her fucking mind. Her arms are bigger than some men out there now. And finally, on the news about Hayden Christensen, appreciating all of the love being showered down upon him from the Star Wars fandom. Once again, there was a dark period for him. There is now a moment of light. The dark side and the light. That was my best impersonation of Andy Serkis, and I shall never do it again. I do not have the dulcet tones of that man. You can comment below about that if you've got anything to say anyway, regardless. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, dislike it if you've hated it, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications straight to these eyeballs on YouTube, and the follow button and the notification button over on Twitch as well for all of the aforementioned reasons. Times by 2. Regardless of what you do though, thank you once again for watching this rambling, incoherent at times, dementia-ridden, fucking disgrace of a show. It was good at points as well. And until the next time, I'm done. Bye guys. Self-praising the one. It was good at times as well. Say so, John. You? Prick.